I might sound like I'm a little crazy, but I promise you I am not a liar. We're about ready to do a hotel room for a vampire. Welcome to another episode of Hotel Renovator here on Simulated Mind. I'm excited to have you here. We're going to jump right in and fully design out, deck out this vampire room as best as possible. Now, I am doing this in post-production, so all the audio that you hear from me is in post because unfortunately, when I edited this, for some reason, my microphone muted. So I am running through and just realizing now I don't have any audio. So we're going to go through this whole thing here and talk about what I'm going through. So I'm trying so hard to get those curtains gone, but they have like a weird hitbox, so you have to hit them like at a really weird angle. And then from there, I'm just trying to get like the corner pieces and stuff, which will sneak up on you, let me tell you. It's so easy to miss a corner piece. And then we're trying to get rid of all the paint around the windowsills here, around the window frame, which let me tell you is super therapeutic trying to get rid of that stuff. And of course, there's some sweeping to do, but that's pretty much it, at least when it comes to the demolition. And then it's diving into ceiling and floor and also the walls. Also, what's really funny here is for some reason, my broom was just auto sweeping. It was like an auto attack in an MMO. No idea why it started doing that, but it did. So I was just walking around just going, okay, well, we'll get everything we can then. I won't even have to try. And I was trying to figure out like, okay, what carpets do we have available to us? What flooring do we have available? Because we unlocked a ton in the last episode. We kind of starred up, if you will, or ranked up as a hotel. And so a bunch of stuff got unlocked. So I'm going through going, okay, well, no, we have grass. And I was like, well, I want to do something here where it was different from the last room. So I'm trying to pick another pattern, but we have to keep with the black and the red. If you look on the right side, it says that there are some suggestions. So add candles, for example, as well as getting things in there that are black and red. And then of course, add curtains. We're trying to appease the vampire as much as possible. And I'm like, you know, okay, I like that. I was like, well, do we have a black and red, a red and black? What can we do here? And I started going through more and more. And it's like not quite seeing what I want. But then I saw this and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty nice. It's not quite black, but it's a little lighter when it comes to the line pattern. And decided, you know what, let's just go with this. And the only issue, again, that I wish wasn't an issue, because it isn't when you paint, it isn't when you put on wallpaper, is I want to see where we have flooring, where we have tiling and stuff like that. But for some reason, it doesn't show you. But for some reason, it just does not show you where the flooring is going, which is really weird. So there's one room down, which is a good feeling. And then I'm trying to decide, okay, well, do we carry this flooring over, this carpeting over into the other sections? And I'm like, yeah, well, we'll have to figure out tile and stuff with the bathroom. But I'm like, okay, I'll definitely want to put it in the sort of bedroom area. And I'm like, well, the walk-in could be different. So at this point, I'm still kind of deciding where I want to go with it. And as you can see too, we still have that other room that's right next door. And it's still being occupied by guests. So we're still making money while we're building, which helps because we're spending a lot of money. I realized about 75% of the way through, I'm like, I really haven't been looking at the prices of things. I've just been looking at, does it look good or not? And it's like, well, I better be careful on that. But luckily, again, we are still making income while we're doing this. Also, I noticed here, I was like, oh, is it raining? It sounded like it, But then I could actually finally see it. I'm like, oh, that's so nice. But it's weird, though, because it's been raining all day today in real life where I live. And so all of a sudden I jump into a game and hear the rain sound. I was like, wait a minute. Now here I'm looking at that going, okay, well, I need to look at the booking real quick because do we need to clean the room next door? But as you can see, cleanliness 9, so I'm guessing 9, we're in the green, it should be good. And I'm just kind of looking at the costs and stuff. And I do look at the tablet again for skills because I was like, oh yeah, skills, that's right. We have this whole section that I forgot about. But it takes progressing in the story to unlock these things. And skills, most of these seem to be just items, like a vacuum cleaner instead of a broom, dynamite, I don't know why, but we'll find out. Detergent, hammer to break down stuff on the walls, I guess. Maybe it's just better than the crowbar, which would be great. So at this point, I'm feeling good about the flooring. I think it looks really, really good. And now it's time to do the entryway here. So now it's tile time. Trying to figure out what's going to kind of tie in with the carpeting, but it's going to work for the bathroom. Again, keeping in mind blacks and reds. I'm looking at the patterns. I definitely want to do something different from the last room. And there are some pretty interesting patterns. So it's a little difficult to figure out which way I want to go with it. Then finally I'm like, well, you know, I kind of like that. But I do go through a couple more times just to get an idea. There's just so many choices too, which is great. You know, what's great about this is that 15 people can play this game, can design this room, and you're going to get something different for each one because of the amount of variety and customization, which is really neat. And then I'm looking at it going, well, is this going to go with it? Yeah, you know what? I don't care. I like it. So I just go, all right, well, we got to make this black. We'll make the walls red. We'll think about the ceiling. And then I notice, oh, wait, I can't get these squares. Ah, I got to break them still. It's like I thought I broke everything down, but I guess not. So I go to fill in the rest, and then I'll go back to those and break those down. Time for my auto-attacking broom to come in. There we go. So at this point, I'm liking it. I like it when I see, you know, finally in the space, everything is laid out. This is great. So at this point, it's like, well, let's look at walls now. Now, originally, I was going through the different images here, the graphic wallpaper, and I was like, nah, that's too much. And I really don't know if it'll count toward red and black, if it's an image that has red and black in it, and I didn't really want to take the risk anyway. So I decided to go with wallpaper, especially because I was trying to go for a little bit more of a classic feel for this room, like a mixture of sort of classic meets modern. So I thought, you know what, let's look at wallpaper, let's look at the different patterns and just see what we can do. And I really like that water one, not for this room, but just in general. I would totally use that for a room. And I see this and I kind of like it. Looking at some of the straight lines on the wallpaper and the lines on the floor. And I decide, you know what, I really like the red. So this is what we end up going with. Then, of course, I noticed, yep, got to get that corner tile there. I do really like the fact that it does cover 2 squares whenever you're doing this. Just a little bit of a time saver. I'm also thinking too, like, okay, well, do we want to put paint in the framing there of the window, or do we want to do wallpaper? And initially, I end up going with wallpaper. And as you can see, like, the wallpaper to place it is super smooth. The other nice thing too is that it does register when something's only a 1 square or a 1 square size, and will alter it so that way it fits where it needs to, which is really cool. Trying to get those pesky corners. Then I realized, oh, I didn't remove the paint here. Dang it. Never fails. Always something. It's amazing how easy you can get lost in this process. Time just flies by while you're doing this whole thing. I think it's just one of the reasons why I feel like is because you're just so hyper focused. You know, did I get this square area? Did I, pick the right design? You put it out there and then you look at it again and go, do I like it or not? Do I want to change the color? Do I want to completely change the pattern overall? Just so many things that you can do and think about. And of course, too, it's always tough when you don't have lights in here. And even though we have access to lights now, unlike the tutorial room, I was just like, well, let's keep the windows open. I was kind of debating just throwing up the curtains right away. I was like, nah, we'll let the natural light come in. But yeah, I could have totally put lights in, but even then, I feel like in this game, the lighting doesn't disperse out the way you would expect. It feels like there is just a very tight radius around the light object, the lamp or whatever, so you don't really get that much light anyway. But here I'm just going through the paints going, you know what, I think I want to frame it and just paint around. And I look at it and go, you know what, I like that. I think that's good. It's not pitch black, but it's still a black. And it's sort of close to the lines on the wallpaper. So even though I already paid to wallpaper this section, I'm like, it's fine. And painting is pretty cheap, as you can see. So now I'm trying to think, well, what do we do with the ceiling? Do we want to go the same route with the same black? Do something different? In the last room, we did all white. I was like, that's not going to fit here. And I'm kind of looking at it going, okay, yeah, no, it's actually not too far off from the lines on the wallpaper. So what you could do too is you could frame out the top of the ceiling with a strip of just the paint itself too. I was like, oh, we'll have to try that maybe in another room because that could look really good too. Or do the very bottom, like where a baseboard would be on the wall, and then also up at the top there, just where the wall meets the ceiling. So far I'm looking around going, you know what? I like this. For the theme and for what we have to work with, this is pretty cool, actually. And it's fitting the suggestive criteria as well, which is really good. So at this point, it's thinking about the ceiling. What do we want to do with it? And at this point, I'm kind of like, you know what? We could just use the jet black. Let's just paint the whole ceiling the same as what we framed around the windows. And what's super nice is we can see every single square that we've already covered. So we know what we don't have to backtrack through. It would be interesting to have the ability where, just like with demolition, where if you hold down on the mouse button, it expands the radius to which you do damage. It wouldn't be bad if you could do that with the painting as well. And I realized, oh, I gotta get that corner. Always the little corners. The little nooks. And then I was waiting, I was like, wait a minute, is it gonna do something? At this point, I'm liking the paint. I go, well, you know, let's just keep going with it. Let's carry it all the way through and see what we can do in the living room. Also, I really love the grid system. I love how they show a grid whenever you're doing the flooring or the ceiling. The only thing I wish is that they showed the grid system whenever you were placing objects, because that would really help with trying to figure out where to place something so that way it is symmetrical to another object. It's in line with another object, you know? And I love how it'll just keep painting while you're in another room. And at this point, I'm trying to figure out, well, do I want to place the curtains? Do I want to deal with the daylight, the natural lighting? And it's like, yeah, let's just finish the bathroom. Let's do the walls. Let's do the ceiling. Really like the tiling. I also love the fact that you could see a little bit of reflection in the tiling. Give it that sort of nice glossy look to it. At this point, I know I'm going to do tiles. It's just trying to figure out which ones and then going red with this. Now, the red wasn't as deep of a red as I was hoping. It was a little bit lighter, but I still think overall it works. The color honestly isn't too far off looking to the wallpaper that we put in the other rooms. And then in the bathroom, I was trying to figure out whether I wanted to paint around the frame, that little framing there, around the window or not. Eventually, I just end up going with tile all the way through. Then we get notified, all right, we can focus on basic design, but we're not done yet. We still have to do the ceiling in here, this little bit of framing around the window. Missed some paint as well, so I gotta knock that out. And I was freaking out here for a moment because I'm like, wait, why can't I paint the ceiling? And then I realized, oh, that's because I'm still under wall. That's kind of the tough thing about having the same sections, if you will, but under different categories. Sometimes it's easy to confuse yourself. Overall, I really like how this is turning out. I think for a vampire, for the theme, it works. We have to stick with those reds and blacks. Now I'm trying to figure out, well, what do I want to start with? And it's like, well, should probably start with the big furniture. Get to the bed, though it's like, well, let's get some lights in finally. And I really like that first light. It's what we used in the first room that we renovated. But I was like, oh, well, chandelier, come on. We're dealing with a vampire here. We have to do a chandelier. As you can see, I'm trying to like center it though. That's the tough part because we don't have a grid system for this bit. And then I discover, wait, you could change the color of the lights for the chandelier? Okay, this is cool. So I try to move this a bit, and then eventually I do change it to red. I figure in the bedroom area, why not do some mood lighting? At this point, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good about this. Feeling okay. Maybe. Then decide, yeah, I want to change the color. Then I figure I'll just keep the same white light throughout the rest of the space, mostly. You know, for when he invites his victims over, his guests over. And then at this point, I really want to add another chandelier. I'm just going to keep going with the same theme throughout each room. And at that point, even though I was thinking carry the white over, this had kept the red lighting. So I just went, you know what? I'm not even going to change it. Let's just go with red then. And I'm trying to figure out whether I want to change the light or not, and then placement of it. And just decide, okay, we want to go with the chandelier again. Try to center it where I can. Love hearing that rain effect come back in. Like for me, I'm originally from Michigan, so I'm used to a place that has all types of weather. So I like thunderstorms. I like rainstorms. But I just don't want to have that all the time. Like, I don't know if I could do someplace like Seattle, for example, you know, or London, where it's like it rains a lot. A lot of that gloom. I don't know if I could do that. But I like the variety just because that's what I'm used to. And at this point, I'm looking at this going, okay, well, we definitely need the curtains. Let's go with the long ones. We'll just carry them all the way through. We'll do all black. Now with this, I get a little bit paranoid because the curtains don't fully block the windows. So I'm like, well, is he going to like it or not? Is this going to be okay with the game? Will I meet the requirements? I'm like, well, hopefully. We'll see. So I do try to like shimmy them a little bit to the left and then a little to the right, just to at least cover them as much as possible. So again, the requirements are candles, reds and blacks, curtains, and then no mirrors. So at this point, I'm going, okay, we need to get a bed. We can also do a carpet, maybe up at the front door, you know, like where you'd wipe your feet. I'm trying to go through here and I'm trying to look at like the patterns and stuff. What do I like? And I'm not really truly in love with anything. I don't want to put something that has a like massive pattern like some of these because it's just going to be too much with the wallpaper and with the carpeting that's already there. And then I go, okay, well, I want to do probably black. So I go through the textures one more time just to find something that is close enough to what I would like. And then I'll go over and make it a black. And I'm a little paranoid too because this isn't like solid black. It almost looks like a gray. So I'm like, I hope this counts. There's some really interesting beds too. Some with headboards, some without. And I was just trying to find one that it just felt like it would fit inside like a vampire's castle sort of thing. I was like, well, okay, we want something with a big headboard. Even though they would fit in a coffin, we don't have coffins, so. I decided to go with this. And then I want to just double check to make sure that the comforter itself is actually black. Now, unfortunately, we can't change the headboard. I really wish you could, but you can't. And then trying to find some nightstands that'll work on both sides. And again, going with that sort of theme of modern, but also a little bit of a classic vibe to it. So I decided to go with this, and I'm looking at it going, well, thing is, do I want to match the headboard or do I want to go with the black theme, like the black and red? And I go, you know what, we're just going to go with black. Everything is either going to be black or it's going to be red to meet the requirement. Headboard be damned. At this point, I'm trying to think of, well, where the heck would candles be? They probably wouldn't be with lamps, but they are a light source. So it's like, where else would they be? So I'm trying to figure this out because you have to have a certain amount of candles laid out. And I wanted to try to put them on the nightstands. I thought those would be good spots for it. So I'm going through all of this stuff. There are some things that look like candles, but I'm not 100% sure if they are candles. Other things that are definitely not. Initially, I was thinking like, oh, maybe a really massive candle, but I'm like, but I don't know if it is a candle. It looks like one, but I'm not sure. I knew the small ones were like tea lights. When I saw this, I'm like, well, that's definitely a candle. That's a candlestick, but it's gold. And it really stands out. I like the look of it a lot, but unfortunately, it's one of those things where we can't change the color of it. We can't change the material of it, which feels weird when you have so many items that you can do that to. Looks like it looks cool, but it's just not the right color. Now, the tough thing with placing items in this game, and the candles definitely are one of them that do this, but they kind of float above the object you're placing it on, which feels weird. And so sometimes it's hard to tell where it's actually going to drop and then how it drops. Sometimes it's a little too close to the edge, it'll fall off, and then you have to try to move it again. And placing small objects are a bit of a pain, I will say. Now at this point, I want a big closet. I want something that, again, fits the big bed and everything else. And I figure, you know what, this is a good spot. Because like if you actually wanted to use this, you'd have plenty of space to open the doors, for example. And it's not too far from the bed. And it's like, well, what else are we going to use that wall space for? So then I'm trying to go through the colors, but unfortunately there isn't a black, go figure. So then I just try to match the headboard. So this is one of those situations where it's like, okay, well, I want to match something here, so let's go with the headboard then, if anything. Now at this point, I want to check out the other room because I want to make sure that it's clean and up to date, but I was trying to remember which room it was. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, hey, there's a guest. So I'm looking around, just making sure everything is good to go. There's no trash or anything like that. Then I see all that crap on the floor. So definitely had to sweep this up. I don't know what they were throwing down there. Like cat litter? What is going on? Then my broom was on auto attack again, so I had to turn that off. And, you know, awkwardly, of course, the guy goes in the bathroom, knowing there's someone in there, of course, right? And leaves the door open. It's like, I'm good. So as we have this full space open, we might as well figure out what we're going to do with the living room. Trying to figure out where do we want to put the couch. Because I was also thinking too, is a vampire going to use a TV? Maybe. I don't know. I was like, okay, well, let's put this, find a place where we can have it facing a wall so we can put a TV up. I was like, well, let's put it dead center. We have all this space. Let's utilize it. Think about like you walk through the entryway and you just kind of drop your stuff down and just flop if you want. Then, of course, figuring out coffee table, which I love some of the designs of their coffee tables. They're just so interesting, so unique from so many other games where they have you flipping something, renovating something, and then putting in furniture. So I really like some of the options that they have here. This one especially, even though it's really big. And I'm thinking about this one because this one's actually pretty interesting. But then I end up going against it because I find something that just feels like it fits better with the height of the couch. And this one here was perfect because it already had that black frame on the outside on the side there. So then it was just changing the wood to a black or as close to black as we could get it. And then with this too, it's another space where we could put candles. Got to meet that quota. And I'm really big about symmetry, so I'm like trying to get these as symmetrical as possible, but without a grid system and without really knowing how it's going to fall, where it's really at. Because you're looking at it from an angle and it's lifted. I'm just like, ah. So I do end up straightening it out a little bit. Do these touches really matter? Is it going to negatively impact anything? No. But if you're going to do a game that has design in it, you might as well actually try to design, right? And try to put some additional rules and regulations onto what's already built into the game. Because ideally, you're trying to challenge yourself. The game will give you some challenges, of course, working within the space and the sizing and the shape. And some of the suggestions, like again, what we have here with blacks and reds, candles and stuff. But in the end, I think it's really about challenging yourself. What can you do with this space? Then I knew I needed a table, and I was thinking about this corner, but it was like, well, what fits there? Because everything is like the size of a dining room table, and I just feel like it's weird and just a little too large. And there's nothing that's really like a desk, quote unquote. Some that are kind of close, but not quite what I was looking for. Now, this was black already, so it's like, well, that's cool. But again, just too long. Now, I was still trying to get like that vampiric vibe, I guess, if you will. It's like I want something that feels like it's modern, but has that classic edge to it. So which one of these really gives that? And I was like, well, what kind of space do we have? Because everything's just too big. This seems like a good size for this corner. So I do end up going with this. And then it's just trying to figure out, okay, well, what goes with the table and with everything else? And I do really like the fabric covered chairs in this game. And I felt like this just kind of gave a little bit more of a classic feel. So I was just trying to figure out, okay, well, what kind of material do we want? And then the color. And then of course, like, oh, wait a minute, I should be able to customize this. We got to change the top. Yeah, trying to find a wood grain that works and then getting it to like a black. At this point, it's like, man, it'd be nice if they had like a copy paste. You have the color, the fabric, the pattern, just copy paste an item and then you can rotate and place, which would be super convenient. Luckily, it does save the choices that you make, so that way you can copy paste. Or not copy paste, but you can go back into chairs again like I did there. And it's already set up for you. So it's close to a copy paste, which at least is nice. was like, no disco ball, no disco ball chairs. Just can't. It's just weird. But definitely want to go with this armchair, though. It's just trying to find the material that matches the couch as best as possible. And at this point, we have pretty much everything covered requirement-wise for bedroom, living room / walkway. Everything that isn't the bathroom, basically. And I'm looking at the Halloween stuff going, there's got to be like a vampire thing, right? And it's like, nope, pumpkins, witch cauldron, witch hat. I was trying to figure out what that light was. I was like, oh, it's a ghost. Angles, man. They really change everything. And they have this thing here. And I'm like, is that Sam from Trick or Treat? Which is a horror film if you don't follow horror films. Because it really looks like it. But they're saying it's a cloth ghost. I'm like, sure. Whatever you say. Now I'm going through the shelves. I'm trying to find something that gives me a fair amount of coverage so I can put more candles up, really. I was like, you know what? This works. 3 shelves, at least 3 candles there. Now, the tough thing is trying to get the candles to line up how I need it to land where I want it to on each shelf, especially on the top, because we can't jump, so we can't really see it. So I guess ignorance is bliss at this point. Mistakes were made. At this point, I'm trying to see what the candle looks like on the top shelf, and I'm like, there's no way. It's not happening. And I'm like, well, we have space. What else do we want to put on the shelves? There's so many things. Many of them too large for this shelf. But as you can see, there are teacups and glasses and plates, and then there's this aquarium, which is huge. I was not expecting that. I was tempted to put it in here, but I was like, no, that's going to be too much money. And then I saw this, like, oh, I really like this. I've got to use it somewhere. I could have probably just placed it on the shelf there. I was like, you know, let's put it on the table. It's a little awkward because of the placement of the chairs, but whatever. But as you can see, that candle set would also fit really nicely on these shelves. And then I see the plants. I'm like, ooh, this could work. It's a white vase, but it's got like the black twigs coming out of it. And it's got that sort of dead look. So I thought, perfect. I'm sure Vlad would appreciate it. Like, oh, you thought about me and my home country. Fantastic. Blah de blah de blah. I do not say blah de blah de blah. Little quote from Hotel Transylvania for anyone that knows. If you know, you know. And it's just flipping through trying to find that candle again. That one specific candle. Honestly, the candle that you saw there with the silver sort of framing around it, that would have worked really well with this shelf. So even though it says, hey, you could jump to the bathroom, I want to do something with the walls. There's stuff to do with the walls. There's probably some little decor things that we could still place. And it does become a requirement. Like first they want you to do the furniture in all the spaces outside of the bathroom, and then they want you to handle the bathroom stuff. But then what will pop up is, okay, now you need to do decorations and wall lamps and stuff like that. Now this looks like kind of like a classic painting you would find potentially in a castle. But I was like, it stands out too much with the gold frame. So I try to go with things that were sort of deadish looking, as well as a little bit simplistic, has those lines like the floor does, like the wall does with the wallpaper, while also keeping in mind blacks as well as reds. And I thought the red flower actually worked really well here with the black background. And this felt moody, and it's got the blacks in it and stuff, so I thought it works. And we do have some white here and there, or like grayish sort of tones. So I figured it all ties in. And can't forget about the TV. First I go to technology and I'm like, wait, nope. And I was like, oh, okay, yep. Not speakers though, not a camera. Just got to find that one wall-mounted TV. Thought about a vinyl. Well, maybe that's a little more classic. That could work. I just really didn't have a space. I could have bought one, had thought about it, and then I just said, nah, I'm okay. I mean, this man has to watch Nosferatu on something, right? Then I thought about stickers, so I'm like, well, we do still have some wall space. What could we do? But I was trying to find something that fits the mood of this room. That sort of has, again, that classic vibe to it. Definitely some interesting choices, though, I will say. I wish you could change the sizing on the stickers. That's the only thing that I have an issue with, is I wish you could size it up or size it down. But unfortunately, it's just, what it is what you get. I still think the stickers are good quality and good variety. And I saw this, I was like, ooh, actually, I think this works. So I was just trying to center it as best as I could. I'm also trying to get the rating up for the room, because the higher the rating, the more we get paid. So at this point, it's trying to figure out what do they want for the bathroom. I was like, nope, they don't want a shower. We haven't had an option for shower yet. And I'm not going to put I could definitely put a shower in this bathroom. It is so large. But I decided just to go with the tub itself. Then of course, like, okay, let's change the color though. We got to go with that black theme. The red with the pop of black. I'm not sure where that shadow came from. What's causing it? I have no idea. It's really weird. And then with the size of room that we have, it's like, okay, where do I put the dang toilet seat? Because there are a couple different options. I was also kind of thinking about where would they put plumbing? They always try to put it on one side because it's cheaper that way. It's too expensive to try to run all the piping back and forth across a building and across a room. So I thought, well, we have the tub here. Let's just put the toilet seat there. We will put the sink on the other side, though. We don't start off with a ton of sink options, but the ones we do have are pretty interesting, pretty nice. And just try to get all the wall decorations out of the way. So bathroom radiator, boom, get that up there. Of course, the toilet paper holder, which this had like a little black cover on it. I don't know if it counts toward the black, but again, just to go with theme, I thought it fit well. And of course, getting towels. It's a shame you can't change the color of the towels. That would be really nice. I thought it'd be interesting to add these here. You know, some sort of like washcloth or something that you could use to get soap out of your eyes or something like that. And of course, with all this space, it's like, okay, well, let's think about maybe some big cabinets. But then I was like, but man, some of these cabinets are so big. What would you put in them? There's so many drawers. Because we have the closet. What else are you putting? Like this one here, I just thought was like, we have the room for it, but what the heck would you put in it? I guess a ton of toilet paper. Then I looked at this and went, whoa, heck, this kind of looks like a coffin standing up. So I kind of like this. This is kind of cool. Unfortunately, we can't open it and use the drawers inside or the shelves inside to add stuff like pomade and toilet paper. That'd be great for like toilet paper and stuff like that. But yeah, unfortunately, it is just that. It is a big, tall box. But hey, you know, it kind of looks sort of coffin-esque, so, you know, it'll make the vampire feel at home. And I do like putting some sort of stand next to the tub. That way there's a place where people can put like jewelry, if they, you know, have like rings or watches or stuff, but also a place for toilet paper, a place for shampoo, like a shampoo bottle and stuff. I know I'm really thinking like way too much into this because the NPCs don't care, but I do, you know, that's the thing. Again, adding those additional rules and stuff, sort of guidelines to these types of games to make it interesting and a challenge. I was trying to see if I could fit it in there, but I just couldn't. And I could have totally have rotated this and it would have probably looked nicer, but hey, you know what? I didn't. And there we go. So we get the towel version of a Jenga tower. And you know what? Don't judge me, okay? We're talking about a vampire here with sharp fangs. He's got to keep them clean. He's going to need a toothbrush, some toothpaste. Maybe the red wine, quote unquote, that he drinks is not a good year. Maybe there's issues. He's got to get that taste out of his mouth. And of course a glass, which he can fill with whatever he pleases. Now, I was trying to find like a good soap dish. There's only the one. But it's weird because none of the soap is round. It's all square. Or I should say rectangular. It's like you don't get square. You don't get circular. And then I was looking at that one bar of soap because it says it's soap, but it looks like a soap dish. So I'm not entirely sure. At this point, we need lights, and then we need a plant. And it's like, okay, well, what kind of plant would a vampire want? I don't know. Venus flytrap? Makes sense, but we don't have it, so. It's like a little too green, a little too green. I was like, wait, what's this tall one? Oh. I was like, actually, just change the base black, and then I think we have something. And originally I was trying to see if I could do something different maybe for the bedroom. And I go, no. So I'm going through everything. I'm just like, too green, too white, too lively looking. No, not dark and moody enough. Now we can't put a mirror in, so I'm trying to think of what else we can do. And I'm like, well, we have a lot of wall space. We do need the lights as well. I was like, well, this corner could work for a light. But then again, I really didn't like the shape of the light. Or how you could only rotate it 90 degrees. There might be a more finite way of doing the rotation, though. And I'm just not really thinking, like I'm just overlooking it. So I'm going through the different lights here and go, okay, well, we need to meet this requirement. So where do we want to put a light source? Then I see this and I'm like, there's no way you could put that on a table. That's weird. That just feels way too big. I'm like, you know what? This works though. It's already black and it's different enough. We have some straight lines coming off of the bulbs themselves, or, those little, I don't know what else you want to call them, like the things that go around the bulbs, I guess. So I was like, you know what? This works. Let's go with that. But then it's time for the lights that go on the wall. And I'm like, well, usually what you see at a hotel is they'll have them on either side of the bed, so that way you have like a reading light. And I really like the hanging one that's black. And again, it goes with those straight lines on the wallpaper. So I was just trying to line them up with the candles on the nightstands as best as possible, while also trying to line them up with each other. Now, at this point, we could totally finish. But I'm like, no. There are still some things we could do with this. We could still enhance the room more so we make more money with it. I'm trying to figure out like what to do with this space specifically. And it's not easy. Like, you could put chairs there. You could put another closet for like jackets and stuff. But it just felt weird. And I'm like, well, I could put a table here and make it like it was a desk. So you have like a little writing nook when you first walk in, then you have the living room, and then you'd have the bedroom and bathroom. At this point, I'm trying to see if I could find something with a desk, because I thought there was a section for desks somewhere, but I must have just imagined it from the previous episode. So I'm just digging through, just trying to figure out like, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to go with the tables and just see what is close enough to desk. Again, I was trying to figure out that whole classic feel meets modern feel, where it can tie in with some of the other furniture. At this point, I just really like the legs of this table, so I end up going with this one and then just darkening it. I'm really liking how this is turning out too. It has some good flow to it. It looks nice. It looks fairly natural. I was so bummed because I really liked the way this looked on the wall here because we couldn't put a mirror up, but you can't change the color of this, which I think is just such a big miss because there's so much you can do with just those little individual tiles and those grouping of tiles to make really cool patterns, but they only come as gold. So now I'm trying to figure out, well, what could we put where the mirror is, or, you know, where there's wall space. I decided to go with this. It has a lot more white than black, but I figure it still ties in with everything. Now, I wanted to try to avoid repeating images too much. Now, unfortunately, we can't change the color of these either, so I was like, I'm kind of tempted, but no, it still feels a little too off. Then I see this and I go, you know what? That's actually kind of interesting. And it doesn't look too bad next to that door there. So it does fill up that wall pretty nicely. Yeah, this has come together quite nicely though. I do really like it. Meets the requirements, has an interesting theme, so this is what we're going with. Now you think that now's the time, right? The vampire gets to check it out, hopefully enjoy, and we can move on. There's a twist. Which is kind of funny, actually. It's kind of a funny twist. So as you can see here, Vlad is actually not really used to a really fine designed room, and he's more interested in a basement. So now it's time to go downstairs to the ground floor and explore this newly accessible area in our hotel that we couldn't access before. Do 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 do. But now I was trying to figure out how to get to it. Now this is really cool because I didn't realize this was here, but we have a full-fledged restaurant. So we can design all of this as well and have a restaurant running and a bar while also having the rooms, which is pretty cool. It's like, aha, basement. Creepy, but okay. All this junk. And then I saw this, went, that's creepy. Blah. So Grandpa's memento. So open up the chest and empty it. It's like, oh, okay. So where's this chest? I'm trying to look for a chest that looks like a chest. Not really noticing that big honking thing in the corner until it's like, oh, you know what that kind of looks like, right? Yeah, we're going to empty it for our guest. So we grab the memento. And then we have to clear the stuff out of it. But first we see Vlad walking around here. And I'm trying to get a good look at his face. But he's so like erratic with his movement. I'm like, oh, is it because the flashlight? Because I can't change that. The flashlight automatically turns on whenever you come down here. Now I'm kind of hiding it with the wall. I'm like, all right, let's just empty this up. I'm trying to figure out how to because I'm not seeing a prompt. Almost place a bed. Like, nope, we're not looking to do that. Poor Vlad, he's just dying to lay down, you know? I'm still trying to take trash out, but I'm like, okay, well, whatever, man. I guess I'll clean up around you. Blah. Honestly, he comes off a little bit stiff, but, you know, he's got a great personality. Trust me. Just takes time. So at this point, I'm like, okay, well...
Well, great.
You know,
We
do we
kill
clear
two
out the
birds with
basement?
one stone. While our strange guest sleeps in the chest, our new customer can stay in the room 103. We doubled our income.
So it kind of works out. He's paying to stay in the basement, and now we have an extra room open, which means we have another guest in that room. So we technically have, quote-unquote, 3 rooms available. At this point, too, I'm like super curious. Like, should we be doing this? Are we jumping ahead? Will there be a story element where we have to clear this out? Because I don't want to jump too far ahead, especially if it could potentially fork out the game itself, and then you're stuck where you can't progress. I really want to clear out like the hallways and stuff too, and the lobby. So many things that you could do with this hotel. Kind of checking like, okay, that opened again. Did I wake you up, Vlad? I'm sorry. Oh, there's an egg right there. I just noticed it now. When you pick up eggs, you get like $1,000 bonus cash. Oh, I should have picked it up. I just didn't notice it. I thought it was junk. Destroy the floor elements, destroy the lobby. So now we have a person coming in going, hey, we're part of this amazing music group, and we want to record you destroying the lobby, and we'll perform. So now we have to set up the lobby where we have to set up with cameras and lighting and speakers and all that, and then we get to tear it apart and hopefully make it look absolutely epic. So there is just so much that you can do with this game, and just so much that you can design, so many things that you can change up, just small little details. So, you know, we'll have to see how this turns out. But in the next episode, I will make sure that I'm actually not muted, and we will dive into the lobby together. So thank you so very much for joining me here on Simulated Mind, and I look forward to the next one. Take care of yourselves and each other.